and a breakdown of predator killers. And right off the bat, this is not your typical predator story. This one is very different, and not because of the kills, although the kills are fire, but it's what it reveals. It's funny that I would be watching a predator movie and not talking about the killing, but what we see in terms of culture. And we get a real good look at Yautja culture for the first time. Their world, their rituals, their beliefs. And that shift should change the lens in which we view them. We see their homeworld. We see how they move. We see how the hunt, which always felt like a game in previous films, is actually a ritual. It is a spiritual practice, and not just any ritual. It is one rooted in ancient warrior code. This is their religion. They aren't thrill killers. They are the purest warrior clan in the universe. They don't worship gods. They worship the warrior. And their hunt, that's their gospel. Every time they cloak up and drop into a war zone, they're spreading that gospel. They're testing themselves against the best fighters that a planet has to offer. And that's what makes Killers of Killers so dope. Because what you're learning is about the Yautja, we're also getting a lens into 3 distinct human cultures, each one known for producing warriors of their own. We get into this matriarchal Viking story that flips the Norse lens. We get this brotherhood tragedy in feudal Japan, soaked in honor and betrayal, and we get this mechanic survival tale during World War II, where brain beats brawn. And each one of these human stories also has their own backdrop. They're reflections of what the predator is there to judge. Now we're going to dive into each of these cultures, but before I do, I want to go a little deeper into the Yautja, who they are, what they believe, and why their warrior religion even formed in the first place. So the Yautja are more than a species. They are a full-on culture, a civilization with rules, honor codes, rank, and even rebellion in their past. They were born from rebellion in one sense. They were not always apex predators. In fact, in the expanded lore, the Yautja themselves were once enslaved. The dominant race was the Maengi, who were smaller, smarter, but cruel. And they engineered the Yautja into warriors as part of these gladiator trials that they enjoyed. So they made them to be big, to be strong, to be obedient. But they did have one rebel who came along with the intelligence enough to turn that technology against him. Now, this is your Yautja Prometheus. He sparked the rebellion. He overthrew the gods, and from that fire, the Yautja didn't just win their freedom, they created a whole religion among them. And his name is Kyle. Now, this becomes the foundation of their warrior code, coming from the gladiator pits and forming their own new structure where they were on top. And they brought that warrior structure along with them. This new civilization was built around the sacred idea that the hunt is holy. It's not about survival. It's not about conquest. It is about proving yourself to the only God that they recognize, which is combat itself. They never kill the weak. They never harm children or sick. They don't use overwhelming force unless the prey is worthy. It's not sport. It is ritual warfare. They cloak themselves in technology, but underneath this is a priesthood of warriors. Every hunt, every trophy is a spiritual ledger. Their armor is blessed. Their weapons are earned. We get to see the structure of their beliefs. So you have clans that are like warrior houses. You have elders who act as war priests. You even have enforcer, Yautjas that track down their own if they break the code. There's even lore about the matriarchs, giant elder females who serve as cultural memory keepers. These are rarely seen. And that code, it is inflexible. The predators we see in Killers of Killers, he's not freelancing. He is enacting ritual law. As the worlds he visits, especially Earth, are part of this tradition. They're not here just to fight. They are here to judge. And the battlefield is their temple, literally. So why Earth? The culture on the edge. Earth, it matters because Earth produces stories. We have warriors who reach mythic status. We have Viking berserkers. We have samurai champions. We have World War II fighting aces. Wherever war turns into religion, the Yautja show up, not to conquer, to witness, to test, to see if what we call honor really holds up under their judgment. Now you understand who they are. Let's break into the 3 human cultures that they visit, not just about us, but about what the Yautja see in us. Now, let's talk about the matriarch of war, Ursa. And it's important to note this time period is during the Viking Age. So we're talking 800 to 1100 CE. And this is the theme riddled with vengeance. Now, she is the first human we see in Killer of Killers, and she's very different. This is not your typical Viking chieftain story. This is a matriarchal war saga. Ursa leads from the front, sword in hand, pain on her back. Her father was killed, and from that moment on, her life becomes ritualized vengeance. He burns this in her, and it's very important that you watch the early moments as he burns this belief in her, this duty that she has to do that. So every decision that she makes is about preparing her clan for war, not survival, not peace, just war. And right there, this is what triggers the predators. This is the cultural shift that they're looking for. Now, in Norse culture, there's this idea that dying in battle is the greatest honor because it guarantees you a seat in Valhalla. But Ursa, she takes this belief and she weaponizes it. Her grief becomes gospel. Her clan doesn't just fight, they must die gloriously. So she turns that pain into prophecy. And it isn't leadership, it is this mythology or belief on autopilot. The predator's arrival is a divine response to that. So when this clan becomes hardened, when they become unstoppable and mythic, this is when the Yautja arrives. And not just to kill, but to verify. Predator doesn't attack weakness. It shows up because his clan has become the exact thing that the Yautja are drawn to themselves. A people who worship war, who raise their children in battle, who treat blood like currency. The predator arrives not as a killer, but as a cosmic judge. This is divine intervention, except the god carries wrist blades. But no less, they are worshiping their ultimate god and judging everyone by that god. Now here's the twist, that Ursa, for all her powers, is still a human. She's not a monster. She's actually broken, and underneath is the rage of a woman who is still mourning. She's still bleeding on the inside. So the more she trains her people for war, the further she gets away from healing. And she thinks she's leading them into glory, but she's putting a target on their backs by doing this. And here's the things that the Yautja really are drawn to. Honor through death. So this turns battles into religion. This is the perfect bait for pulling in Yautja. The clan unity. They're attracted to strong blood ties and loyalty. It makes defeat seem like it's sacrilegious. The female warlord elevates the entire mythology. And the no surrender culture, it forces battles to the death. So there's no escape and no dishonor. It's exactly what they want. So they're absolutely drawn to the type of culture that she builds. And when you build that, they definitely come looking. Now the second segment, where we have the sword or the blade and the bloodline with Kenji and Kyosho. And this takes place in feudal Japan. So we're saying roughly the 1500s to the 1600s, I think exactly the time that they show. And this is about honor. This is about inheritance. So we shift into this mode, and this is where we follow two brothers. Kenji, who is purposefully calm and calculated, versus Kyosho, who is fierce and reckless. They're sons of a warlords, and they're bound together. You can see the calm versus the reckless, fiery nature puts them in that eternal balance, that struggle between chaos and order, that they mirror each other. But their father, who has raised them more as a warlord than a father and a mentor, makes him fight, not for survival, and it changes to legacy. For their love is measured in their scars. And while Kenji represents discipline, he is the classic samurai ideal. He moves like the blade, he's precise, quiet, he's intentional. Kyosho is the rage that legacy creates. He's impatient, he's volatile, he's desperate, right? They aren't just rivals, they are trapped in this never-ending cycle. So they meet years later to finish this duel that they never wanted, either one of them. And their fate is written. And the predator arrives because he wants to witness this. This is a ceremony. Because this is about the ascension of legacy, he needs to see this. This is a ceremony anointing their survival. So he observes, he watches, he waits. He doesn't just want to know who's the stronger. He wants to see who is worthy, who honors the blade, not just the skill, but the spirit. So he is giving divine judgment. He is witnessing the collapse of culture built on this unexamined obedience. And he wants to challenge, of course, the winner. That's where the real test in it for him. And everything about it, this father-son hierarchy of loyalized, control, ritual duels fit right into the idea of what Yautjas are looking for. And that's what attracted them. They were not evil. They were both fighting for what they believed to be good. But ultimately, those are the same things that the Yautja see as worthy. And that's going to attract that attention as it did. So in the third segment, we see the mechanic of war, Torres. This is obviously World War II, so 1940s. And the real theme of this is this idea of his ability to adapt over tradition. Now, Torres is the youngest of these three humans, the one who fights the predator in the least traditional way. There is no sword, no blood oaths, no sacred ritual. These are just oil stained hands. This is an aircraft mechanic. This is a quick thinking. He is a rookie, but a genius. He's a person who doesn't prepare for war, but he forges through this war. This isn't a warrior in the traditional sense. He's not trained to fight, but he is trained to solve problems under pressure. And this is what makes him dangerous in the eyes of the Yautja. He's not built for the hunt, and that's exactly why he survives it. He doesn't rely on strength or legacy. He relies on instinct and machine-like logic. His powers aren't passed down. It is built on the fly. What makes him special is something that the predator does not fully understand what he is. So that's what brings him here. Obviously, the whole idea, the backdrop of the industrialized war, mass-produced weapons, impersonal battles. This, for soldiers to have to survive, it's a fix-it culture is born out of this necessity. And we see the individual brilliance that comes out. Taurus represents this MacGyver archetype, and it shifts from myth to science. He sees things in a different way to solve larger problems. While we see Ursa, who is deeply rooted and let's continue to fight, he immediately sees the idea that one of us will win this fight, but none of us will make it out of this place. I have an idea that could get us all back home. So he sees it in different ways. He doesn't carry honor like a sword. He builds as he moves in his hands. Even when defeat stares him in the eye, he represents his future. This kind of warrior who is different, who is built from necessity and imagination. And the predator sees this as exactly what it is. It is another type of warrior. It is the evolution of the hunt to chase someone who is this now and what he represents. And this class for him doesn't represent a class of strength. It is a duel of adaptability. Torres made it out not because he fought harder, it's because he fought faster. And that's something that's going to spin the Yautja. They're going to be concerned with dealing with that new adaptability in a warrior. And the World War II scenario is exactly what brought that out. They were that type of warrior, and now they wanted to test themselves against that. So what can I walk away with, killer or killers? I can say that it's not just another Predator story, which would have been fine. I had no problem with that. But this is myth painted up in warfare. It's a divine test that moves across time. 3 cultures, 3 mirrors, and one God silently walking through all of them, represented in this form of combat. We see why each culture was chosen. Viking culture built on faith around vengeance, and that became what they worshiped. The feudal Japan, where family ritual and honor was turned into the goal, and blood was shed to maintain those honor codes. And then the Torres World War II legacy, which shows the evolution of war, the change of war, and how the predators are adapting to this mind that now understands war and cunning in a different way. But give me your thoughts always in the comment sections, and thank you for stopping at 9 War Chronicles, as I enjoyed every bit of Predators, Killer versus Killers, and I want to share my ideology about it with you.